With Ben McKeever and HubsVolquest.com. On this Tuesday Media Day, on the eve of the start of football practice, Tennessee officially opens camp tonight with a team meeting and a dinner, and then they hit the practice field in the morning. Ben, the opportunity today to speak to Josh Heupel, Alex Golesh, Tim Banks, and a whole bunch of players, including the four quarterbacks. First of all, how surprising is it that Josh Heupel let all four of his quarterbacks talk who are in this competition heading in?
Very surprising. I don't know that you can find four scholarship quarterbacks on a roster anywhere in the country. I'm sure there's somebody, but they're few and far between. So that's the first takeaway I take from that. And then secondly, allowing them to talk in the midst of a quarterback competition, very rare.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear Josh Heupel talk about that quarterback competition, and Alex Golesh as well. Did not completely say he would not play two quarterbacks, but it sounds like if there's a second quarterback playing, it's going to be more situational type stuff. Both of them kind of lean towards, Golesh more than Heupel, lean towards, I want a guy.
Yes, I completely agree. Kind of reminded me of a Florida situation with Tim Tebow and C.J. Leak, to where Tebow was kind of the guy that came in and ran, or even last year's Florida team with Kyle Trask and Emory Jones. Emory Jones played, but he didn't necessarily play quarterback. I could see a situation with that, but you kind of look at the personnel, the different quarterbacks that Tennessee has, and who fits that Tim Tebow or that Tim Tebow mold that can come in and run the football. Brian Mauer's the first one that comes to mind, and it was a point of emphasis from Alex Golesh that Joe Milton can run. He wasn't asked to do so at Michigan, but you can win by using Joe Milton's legs. So that's something to watch.
And also Milton's arm strength was referenced a couple of times, and Alex Golesh said that arm strength is an important part, or being able to push the ball down the field is an important part of his offense. In hearing the quarterback speak and speaking to him, what's your takeaway from their viewpoint of this competition?
That they're not scared. I think you go around and you talk to each quarterback, and
but nobody's going to say they're scared, right?
No, but it wasn't the cliche answers that you typically get, and nobody was kind of completely out of the box as you would think. But Harrison Bailey had a quiet confidence to him. You spoke with Joe Milton. You said the same for Joe Milton. And speaking with Eric and Rob, they said the same thing about Hendon Hooker and Brian Mauer. So there weren't the normal cliches, in my opinion, but you could still tell that each is very confident in their own abilities going into fall camp.
The other takeaway from the quarterbacks, before we move on with a couple other house cleaning things, is Alex Golesh wants the competition to go fast. Josh Heupel wants it to go fast, but Golesh wants it to go like his offensive pace fast, it sounds like.
Yes. Now, I did think that it was interesting that Josh Heupel talked about going into game week with a starting quarterback named, whereas Alex Golesh was more, let's wait until game number one before anybody finds out who the starting quarterback is going to be. So different way of sentencing that, but overall you get the gist of they want to go fast because there are, again, four scholarship quarterbacks, and that's rare in a quarterback competition this week or this time in college football, and they don't have a lot of time to dwindle down the reps.
Yeah, Alex Golesh referencing 10 days multiple times in terms of working towards decisions at a lot of different spots, but certainly the quarterback spot as well. What's your takeaway from Josh Heupel as he met the media for about 25 minutes?
From Josh Heupel, I mean, it was truly quarterbacks, and Alex Golesh dove in a little bit more in terms of what they're looking for in the quarterback. Obviously, Josh Heupel was a little more cliche, saying that somebody that they can trust. Pretty cliche answer, and obviously it's the correct answer, but I know you asked about Heupel, but Golesh went as far as saying somebody that can push the ball down the field, somebody who's efficient, and somebody who is consistent. And Josh Heupel pretty much said the same thing, but summed it up as somebody that can be trustworthy.
Yep. On the defensive side, Tim Banks made it very clear. The linebacker room, and Josh Heupel as well. The linebacker room very different. But anxious to see. I think they're anxious to see what those transfers look like. We're all wanting to see that, obviously, on the practice field, but you get the sense that they like what they have there. They want to see it on the practice field. And the other takeaway from Josh Heupel for me is that this is a healthy football team coming into camp. Those guys who were limited in the spring seem to be full go at this point, which opens up a door for Leonard Whitehead, who we haven't seen, and then obviously at linebacker Roman Harrison and Jeremy Banks.
Well, it's just big because Tennessee's roster isn't full because of the coaching change and all the attrition. And yes, you brought in guys, but even with bringing in the transfers to replace the ones that left, you're still not at a good number, especially when you play in the SEC. And now you're going through a 12-game schedule compared to a 10-game schedule. So that's the big reason health is important to me. It's just because the roster situation from a number standpoint already isn't good. it would be really worrisome if you were dealing with that and injuries on top of it.
Yep, lots of things going on as you would expect as fall camp gets started. We have player video interviews. We have the videos from the coaches. Rob's got a quarterback piece coming up a little later this evening. Ben's got 11 things to watch in fall camp coming up as well. Plenty of things to get you ready for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock when Tennessee hits the practice field. We'll have full coverage of that as well. So stick with us at Volquest.com. For Ben McKee, I'm Brent Hubbs.